I just realized there was a lot of timeline inconsistencies in Marvel Zombies, and I thought I would talk about a few of them. The first one is actually pretty surprising when I thought about it, because the MCU Ms. Marvel was born in 2009, and since the initial infection started in 2018, because it happened around the time of Infinity War, she would be 9 years old, right? So that doesn't make any sense at all, but there's actually more. Riri Williams was born 2005. She would have graduated from her high school in 2023, and that takes place before Wakanda Forever, which is why she would have her prototype suit around that time, because she'd be at MIT. However, since she didn't get to even graduate high school, and I'm pretty sure she would be a freshman, she didn't even get to do that, so that's not even possible. She'd be 14, and she wouldn't have access to her MIT technology to even make these things. I'm pretty sure that way later into the series, we get a time skip to years later, and they'd be kind of closer to that age. They'd still be younger than their current versions, but it does take a few years after the initial zombie infection, which happened in 2018. Let's just be generous and say that it's 2023. 5-year time skip just to line up the timeline a bit better. However, there is still more inconsistency. Kate Bishop wouldn't even be Hawkeye. She was in her full suit, but she didn't gain her full suit until after the time skip, and also after she was already in the Ronin suit as her first initial suit when she was trying to be a vigilante. She would have never gained any of these items, nor would she have become Hawkeye. She would have probably had the bow train, because she did train with a bow because she was inspired by him during the battle for New York. However, she wouldn't even be remotely close to as skilled as Hawkeye, or even really have any of the technology or weaponry that he would have, because she would just have a basic bow. I hate to say it, but they also buffed Wanda. I'm not saying she's overpowered. I don't really care. She didn't actually have her powers that she has in the show during that time, because she gained her reality warping powers when she came back to life after Endgame, after the grief of losing Vision. However, she in this timeline got infected before the events of Avengers Endgame or Infinity War, and also Vision passed away after Wanda was already zombified. She would have no earlier recognition of having reality warping abilities. She would have just stayed a zombie, and she would have just been a telekinetic, but she wouldn't have had reality warping capabilities like she has in the show. The thing that triggered her to have those powers was the Westview incident, which is what fully initialized the Scarlet Witch transformation that she would slowly start going through. Also, Ms. Marvel wouldn't have her. I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm just circling back to her. I kind of forgot. Ms. Marvel wouldn't even have her bracelets on, because she put on those bracelets so she can complete her outfit for the Comic-Con, where she was dressed as Captain Marvel. She wasn't even a fan of Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel wasn't a known hero until after Infinity War and post Endgame. She was a really big fan of her post Endgame, which means that she would have had no reason to put on those bracelets. Those would have just been her grandma's bracelets, which means that she would have no reason to put those on. Also, another one, this is going to be a short one. The way that the virus was originally spread was by Hank Pym going to the quantum realm to save Janet, but there's a big problem with it. Ant-Man and the Wasp happens pretty much the exact same year. Not even pretty much. It happens the exact same year as Infinity War, which would mean that the Avengers were disbanded, which would mean that when they went to go find the original virus, they would have not all been there. It would have probably been one or two of them at most. And also, why in the world did Tony take off his helmet? That's not inconsistency. That's just bad writing. All right, I forget I even said that. That's all I really wanted to say. Don't take this as me hating. I just wanted to point out that there's actually a bizarre amount of inconsistencies in the timeline that are brought up. Wait a second, I just realized one last thing. Wait, Infinity Ultron killed Wanda in the first season of What If, so how would she even be alive in the Marvel Zombies thing? Whatever, that's it for this video. Bye!